One of the strongest cyclones in decades is moving inland in India and Bangladesh. Millions have fled Cyclone Amphan, and authorities say low-lying areas are at risk of flooding. They're also concerned about the spread of the coronavirus in the shelters now housing thousands of people.
In a last-ditch effort, these Bangladeshis are preparing for the worst. Filling sandbags with their bare hands, they brave conditions brought on by one of the most powerful cyclones in decades. Meteorologists have dubbed it a super-cyclone, and as it headed inland, it lived up to that name. It sent water surging inland some 25 kilometres. The damage compounded by winds of up to 185 kilometres per hour. In calmer conditions in Satkhira, Bangladesh, volunteers helped to bring locals to safety. More than 2.5 million people were evacuated to shelters like this one, which brought new concerns amid the corona pandemic. There is a shortage of drinking water. There are sanitation facilities for them, but no social distance is maintained. For that reason, the fear of the coronavirus spread is persistent there. Authorities scrambled to evacuate residents in the cyclone's projected path of destruction, but that may leave them vulnerable to an increased risk of the virus. 50 kilometres west into Kope, attempts at social distancing were futile. There are too many people here. It's impossible to maintain social distancing. I am very concerned. We couldn't stay home due to the storm, and here is the tension of corona. I'm just trying to dodge both. An unprecedented challenge for millions, Amphan couldn't have come at a worse time.
Tracking developments from Delhi for us is DW's Nimisha Jaiswal. Good to see you, Nimisha. Where's this storm headed at this hour?
Well, Brian, it looks like the worst may well be over because the storm tapers down after making landfall. However, it is safe to say that the true assessment of the damage will take place through the day today on Thursday. Authorities also warned yesterday that people should not emerge from their homes until an all clear is declared, because last year's Cyclone Amphan in the similar region actually wreaked the worst of its damage as it was pulling out. Already, authorities are assessing damage worth amounts up to 12 billion euros. There has also, of course, been loss of life. Trees have been uprooted, communication lines locked down. Parts of Kolkata, the capital of West Bengal, also saw blackouts as electricity cuts also happened. So the assessment of the damage, as I said, would happen through the day today.
Okay, Nimisha, as this assessment takes place, what's it looking like? Have efforts to prepare for the storm paid off?
Well, Brian, it's important to note that the National Disaster Relief Force of India has truly put together a commendable effort and has improved its performance over the past few decades. The previous storm of this intensity, which occurred about 20 years ago, saw a loss of life of close to 10,000 people. And even while any loss of life is a sad loss, but right now, of course, that damage has been curtailed. However, I must also draw your attention to the need to improve resilient infrastructure in these areas. These areas are storm prone, and also already because of extreme weather conditions that have been instigated by climate change, these are seeing more and more extreme climatic events. So the investments, such as what the damages we're seeing, 12 billion euros almost, may well be invested into improving infrastructure so that these storms do not wreak this much havoc.
Preparations might have been improving, but there's a completely new threat this time around. What can you tell us about the threat for thousands of people in shelters of coming into contact with the coronavirus?
That's true, Brian. The authorities have pointed out that this is definitely a double threat. Just 2 weeks ago, before Cyclone Amphan was on India's horizon, many shelters were actually converted into COVID wards, and now this led to a shortage of spaces to move these people. Many people actually refused to move, and authorities had to beg for them to move into evacuation centers because they were worried about the impact of the coronavirus. So even while these people may well have weathered the storm, the state state's resources will be distracted in controlling the damage caused by the cyclone and hence impact efforts to prevent the spread of the virus. Also important to see that many migrants from urban centers like New Delhi and Bombay are fleeing back to these states of West Bengal and Orissa. So what exactly will they be returning home to? Authorities in the state will have to look after them as well.
Namisha Jaiswal following developments for us from Delhi. Thanks so very much for that, Namisha. Let's get you briefed now on some of the other stories making the news at this hour. Police in Bangladesh have used tear gas to disperse hundreds of protesting garment workers in the capital, Dhaka. The workers are demanding wages they're owed. Some say they haven't been paid for 3 months. The coronavirus has led factories to furlough or lay off half of the country's 4 million garment workers.